Hey guys, this is not a virtual background, this is a live setup. We literally have like 2 to 3 hours to spare, so we thought might as well just bring all the equipments down at this quite shady spot to like do this video for you guys lah. So basically, what do we have here for today? Okay, first and foremost, I want to say this is not exactly bragging session. Maybe a little bit humble brag lah. Because when I first started the YouTube channel about 2-3 years back, a lot of you guys has reached out to us, and thank you guys for giving us or showing us this tremendous support throughout these few years. But I realized also that 80% of you guys were reaching out to us in regards to East Coast properties specifically. Okay, I won't say 80%, maybe 60% thereabout. Now, just to set the record straight, we are not just focusing in the East. If you know us long enough, we are always on the hunt for value, and we are quite well versed with the entire Singapore area except some parts of the West like Choa Chu Kang, or maybe Far East in towards the Flora Drive area, or even to a certain extent like I think Central West, Hillview. So these are the spots that we don't actively bring our clients to look for value. But of course, you need to understand that as a property agent, sometimes you also have to recognize the fact that certain locations may not have the best value, but it might mean tremendous value to you because maybe your parents are staying there, and then maybe you grew up there, you just want to be where you are at. Then no right, no wrong, because maybe that is to you guys of value lah. So
whatever I share does not constitute financial advice. It is solely based on my opinion on what is right or wrong. So please do your own due diligence. If you're liking the content so far, please hit the like and subscribe button, as your simple gesture will help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. If you are interested to find out more about property related matters, please find all the social media handles I am on, or you can just directly reach out to me on WhatsApp. Separately, I have also set up a Telegram group at the start of the year so that we can have a discussion that we as agents are not allowed to do so online, which is to talk shit. So if you are interested to get into a community that talks about everything under the sun about property, please scan the QR code, or for the boomers out there, I have pasted the link in my description. We're going to close the group invitation in probably a month or 2 times, so head over and I will see you there. Now back to the video.
Anyway, the topic here today is talking about East Coast, and also we will be sharing with you why consumers has consistently reached out to us to look for East Coast properties lah. So for those of you guys who keep track again, I personally has been plying my trade in the East Coast for like close to 12-13 years before I started the YouTube channel. Up until now, most of my business are running around the East Coast neighborhood itself. Personally speaking, East Coast is like the spot where a lot of locals, as I mentioned many times in my previous video, outside of the East Coast, they will want to come to the East Coast area. And a lot of people, like for example, if they are staying in Aljunied, they are staying in Bedok, they are staying in Tampines, they are staying in Pasir Ris, a lot of them, you ask them or give them the option of moving to the East Coast, I think most of them would say yes. Not all, but I would say majority. Now the only question is whether they can afford it or they cannot afford it. So long story short, let's put this in simple context. So we are literally like a matchmaker. Let's say today you're someone who has a preference for someone that is taller, someone that is shorter, someone that is a bit more plump size, or someone that is skinnier. Then we, as the middle person, knows exactly who is in the dating scene. So we as a middle man will know exactly who is there out there to match you. Okay, so hear me out. I will share with you context, then you will understand where we come to the picture, okay? So if you look at the East Coast, so for longest time, a lot of people say,
East Coast area, like a lot of supply, I'm very confused. I don't know where to start searching.
But I want to share with this one thing, actually East Coast properties, by default, there isn't that much options, okay? So if I talk about the start of East Coast, which is where we are right now, this is Tanjung Ru itself. Now Tanjung Ru neighborhood is predominantly already like 25-30 years old already, with the oldest being 1994. So that is already easily 32 years old. There's Coastal and Pebble Bay. So if you look at this neighborhood itself, within the neighborhood itself today, if you are looking at Tanjung Ru, you might say,
hey, wow, there's so many properties to look at. I'm going to see every single developments and compare, so on and so forth.
But actually, that is if you don't understand the neighborhood very well. So if for those consumers who reach out to us, you will know that first we need to understand what exactly are you looking out for. So for example, today if you have a budget of, let's say for example, $2 million to $2.3, $2.4 million, then instantly we'll eliminate the options of Causeway, Pebble Bay, Camelot, Park Shore to a certain extent, and you know that your options are meaning Water Place, Sanctuary Green, Tanjung Ria, and Casuarina Cove, because that is where the unit sizes are much smaller, and that's why it's more palatable. And you'll be surprised, RCR now, these 3 bedrooms, it's not easy to find somewhere around $2 to $2.3 million. Actually, most of them are already transacting about $2.3 million. No, actually, I correct myself. Most of the good RCR locations are $2.5 million above. And Tanjung Ru, you still can buy something that is about 2.2, 2.3. So that's why still a lot of people are looking for properties in this neighborhood, but just that it's a little bit older. So within the Tanjung Ru itself, you also need to understand what is there out there. But let's say, for example, you move on towards the eastern side there, you will cross towards, I call it Fort Road. Now, the Fort Road is in between Tanjung Ru and Mayor Road, but some people still classify it as Tanjung Ru because the address might be Tanjung Ru. But I still, generally speaking, classify it as like Fort Road properties. So let's say, for example, Arena East is considered Tanjung Ru. You have the likes of Crystal Ru, you have the likes of Waterside. They are Tanjung Ru, but more Fort Road. And Waterside, of course, that is one of the largest developments in Singapore that everyone is crazy about, rightfully so, because the floor plates there are much larger, land size much bigger also. So that cluster there, they are mostly freehold properties. I'm not exactly a fan of that small little enclave there because those are mainly smaller plots, and then I have issues with small plots in this neighborhood itself. So okay, anyway, moving on towards further down east again, there is Mayo Road. For those of you guys who missed my walk with me at Tanjung Ru, this is the link that you can check it out. And we also did a walk with me series at Mayo Road. So again, if you missed it, check it out here. I pasted a link in the description. Okay, so Mayo Road, you need to understand, also got a different caliber of properties out there for people to look at. So I already shared what's the beauty about Mayo Road itself. Again, you haven't seen it, you can always check it out. Then the next cluster is actually, even though it's 1 street away, it's the Amber Road properties, where it's like separated into 3 rows. And the more prominent projects there are like One Amber, Astar, Amber Park, and the older ones like Amber Point. And over there also you got Chinese Swimming Club. And just for your information, a lot of people don't realize that, that coastal line area that separates Coastline, Amber Point, and the ECB itself, there's one actually quite big plot of land. And that one should be going up for sale very, very soon. So for those of you guys staying that age there, overlooking the sea, then you might think twice about your views potentially being blocked, because that plot of land is gonna go. So over there, it's all mainly freehold. The more sought after ones are One Amber and Astar, because the prices there are more palatable, because sizes there is a bit smaller. The older ones, the sizes are much bigger, so that's why the ultimate quantum or absolute quantum is pretty high. Now on the north of Amber is actually mainly landed properties, and also you have the Hague Road properties, which I consistently also has highlighted in our previous video, that if you are a true Eastie, you will know that if I were to draw an imaginary line along Dunman Road itself, anything on the northern side of Dunman Road belongs more to like Paya Lebar, and anything on the southern side is really one of the most expensive enclaves in Singapore, and that part of it is actually the Mountbatten landed property itself. And then on the right hand side, it's where you have Tembusu Grand, EOK, and all the eateries over there, right? So that part there really is mostly landed properties. And then when you move towards Marine Parade area, Marine Parade, you have the notable, the Sea View, you also have the Shore Residences, you have Court Diazu that is just right beside Marine Parade itself. And then just right opposite the mall, closer to where I-12 is a lot of small boutique developments. So in the past few years, they've been still doing quite well, even though they are boutique developments, because the location is really hard to find. Like convenience, everything all doorstep, MRT is all doorstep, and then you are 1 km to town. And that's why over there still got a fair bit of value. And I always emphasize to my clients out there, it's sometimes okay to buy boutique developments, but sometimes these kind of projects in Park Seabreeze, every 6 to 12 months there's a transaction, but each time the prices just goes up higher and higher and higher, because if you're offset by a good layout, you're offset by very amazing attributes to the development itself, then actually it will still go up. Okay, anyway, so when you cross the street towards the St. Patrick's area, those are, I wouldn't say not sought after, but people don't usually cross towards Parkway, because that side there is mostly low rise. And low-rise units like 70 St. Patrick's residences, I think, I can't remember exactly which one it is. Usually most of my clients don't go there, although it's still quite convenient, it's 1 km within town. But on that stretch, on the northern side of where Parkway, Marine Parade East, and the northern side of where St. Patrick's is predominantly landed properties, where you have the owner, Juchard side there, mostly landed properties, and some small, very small boutique developments that has been doing quite well because the price is quite cheap. It's actually quite nice. Now the northern side of West St. Patrick's is very close to Teluk Kurau. And that is the spot that a lot of District 15 people don't tend to pay attention to. Why is that so? Now, why are people that against the Teluk Kurau? Now, landed properties there are still performing well, don't get me wrong, but over there for condos, they are really mostly boutique developments. Not only boutique developments, the area there is mixed zoning, which means that over there you can see temple, you get to see apartments, you get to see landed properties, you get to see all different kind of things. So people always say that Teluk Kurau area there a little bit more zha. And really because it's mostly made out of boutique developments, that's why most of them don't look at it. So Teluk Kurau, most of the clients won't exactly pay too much attention to the neighborhood itself. Then once you cross Teluk Kurau, you are coming close to where the likes of all the HUDCs are, which is Neptune Court, Laguna Park, and so on and so forth, before you arrive to Mandarin Gardens. So Mandarin Gardens is one of the oldest in the entire East Coast area Siglap. Is it the oldest? One of the oldest. So over there, there's consistently transactions, but age there is, of course, a problem that you have to pay attention to in time to come. Of course, Mandarin Garden has been consistently trying for en bloc. I think it's going to be a tall order to hit 80%. Even though it clears 80%, I think it's quite a struggle to find a consortium to absorb a plot of this magnitude. So on the northern side of Mandarin Gardens is also mostly landed properties, and that's where Frankel is. Siglap, Frankel, of course, is the second most expensive address in the East Coast area. If you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, then this is news to you. Then you go towards the Siglap side there, you have a few larger size developments like Park East, Flamingo Valley. Yes, you still got quite a fair bit of demand there, but most people somehow when they look for East Coast, they are always looking closer towards the East Coast line or coastal line area, which brings us to what appears after Mandarin Gardens. It's actually Seaside Residences. That one is already close to 9 years old already. It launched like close to 10 years ago. Owners there are making a lot of money because it's East Coast. There's a lot of people wanting to find newer properties in the Siglap area. Then Seaside was the only option, or rather right now it's still the only option, because after Seaside Residences you are already approaching close to the end already, is where the Bayshore is. And Bayshore Park is very similar to Mandarin Gardens. The grounds are amazing. I absolutely love the grounds. This kind of grounds nowadays hard to find. But of course the estate is older already. It's very old school there. So for those of you guys who usually are looking to retire, then that's actually a very nice spot because it's like an estate on its own. Except the layouts there are a little bit funky for the larger floor plates units. But otherwise, Bayshore Park also quite sought after for people wanting space without burning a hole in the pocket. And then just beside Bayshore Park itself is also the Bayshore. Unfortunately, Bayshore, there isn't a balcony, so people East Coast somehow always like balcony. And the layouts there are a little bit more odd. But I think right now, I haven't paid attention to the Bayshore prices in a while. I think if, let's say, your budget somewhere around 1.7, 1.8, I think you should be able to buy a 3-bedroom there, which I think if you're entering at the kind of price, still got potential because you're just opposite the new township. And at 1.7, 1.8, it's kind of convenient location, I think, and it's quite sizable also. It's not easy to find. So the Bayshore, even though it has its flaws, I think it's something that you can watch out for. I think the rentals are also pretty decent, just that it's a little bit older. Okay, so and just below the Bayshore itself is the development that everyone is crazy about, usually in the Bayshore area, which is Costa del Sol. And up until now, I believe the grounds at Costa del Sol, it's really a mixture of something that is newer and old. Now, what do I mean by newer and old? The facilities there are amazing. It's really like a resort. You got quite a fair bit of pools there, a lot of tennis courts, you just got a lot of things happening at the facilities area, and that's the selling point of Costa del Sol. Over there also got no balcony. And then you cross the street, it's where the Bayshore area is. This is where Bella Bay has launched. I think they've closed 60 to 70% since the launch itself about a couple months back. And that's where, of course, all the new township is lah. But usually the East Coast people kind of stop at the Bayshore area, because on the northern side also mainly are landed properties. That is where you have the Senate Lane, you have Lucky Heights, and then a row of very small boutique developments like East Coast Residences, I think Uber 388, so and so forth lah. But this whole neighborhood really packs a lot of different amenities depending on what you are looking for. And I also will share with you, for example, I'll give you two examples, okay, so context. So where we come to the picture is very simple. Let's say, for example, today you are looking in the Bayshore area and you say, I have a budget of, let's say, $2.5 million, which you can easily buy the Bayshore Park, and even Costa del Sol. But if your requirements is to say, I need a balcony, for example, then I would say Costa del Sol and Bayshore is totally out of the question, right? Bayshore Park is the only option. So, this is what we value at, because to be honest, today you look for houses, it's not very difficult. You just go and see houses and then arrange viewing. Let's say you like it, you just buy it lah. But sometimes if you go on kind of like headless chicken kind of run, right, you just go and see the entire East Coast, right, you see like, let's say for example 20-30 units. Not only is it exhausting, right, but sometimes you see too many units, it becomes very confusing. And then you start to realize that, there's so many things there, I also cannot decide, and like a lot of them I don't like it because you don't have someone to guide you exactly where to look for, and that's where we come into the picture. Second example is, let's say today, if you have a budget of, let's say, $3.5 million, 3-bedroom, and you want only freehold, then I'll tell you, Tanjung Rhu don't even need to bother, right? And you just need to start focusing on the main road itself and Amber. Okay lah, to a certain extent, you can always go towards the Marine Parade there, but Marine Parade there, most of them are overpriced or it's boutique development. So let's say today you have $3.5 million, you can look at, we straight will tell you, bro, you can look at Mayor Rise, you can look at a Belvedere, you can look at Makina. You squeeze a little bit, you can consider Seafront or Alto, but that one's already hitting $4 million already. So the whole stretch there, we are extremely familiar. We instantly picked out which one we think it's of value, what kind of price that you should go in for, what are the flaws of development. That is how we value add. We make this whole search much more comprehensive and objective enough so that you don't waste too much time looking for properties. And like I said, sometimes looking for properties can be quite tiring now. And from a value perspective, of course, East Coast will always have a value because there's really tremendous amount of demand coming into the neighborhood itself. But then again, you also understand that the prices here have shot up quite some bit over the past few years. So certain units might be very nice. Let's say, for example, if you start paying Alto $4.5 million, $4.6 million for a high floor 3-bedroom, then is that of tremendous value? I mean, it's a question mark. And because we are on the hunt for value also, today, let's say, for example, if you want to buy purely for investment, then we say maybe East Coast might not get you the best returns, you might not look elsewhere. But if you're someone looking for a perfect combination of work-life balance, you want somewhere that is very convenient, it has a lot of lifestyle, have a lot of everything, and then you want to retain X amount of value, then East Coast, it's always the spot that I can tell you buy something here. You buy something good, especially freehold with a nice sea facing or nice views, then it won't go wrong lah, right? Because your demand is always there. And that's the thing about East Coast. There's always that unspoken thing about the neighborhood itself. Just like, I also cannot explain why I love East Coast so much. Is it because of the convenience? It's like one of the closest residential enclave outside of the CBD area. You drive to CBD, if you're working there, it's extremely easy. If you take the MRT, I think it's even faster with the Thomson Eastern Line. I think the Thomson Eastern Line, if you talk about, let's say you bought the MRT at Tanjung Rhu or let's say Katong Park, I think it takes, it's much faster than you drive there. So the TL kind of like connects all the dots in terms of amenities, and that has been a huge plus point for the East Coast area. And not only convenience, in terms of food, if you're looking for food, everyone knows that Joo Chiat is where the spot is, but there's also other small little scattered spots where people also actively look for their culinary needs. So you also have like Old Airport Road and certain part of Sea Club, so you have very nice food. So there's really plenty of stuff. It's very happening. There's really plenty of stuff. Of course, there's also East Coast Park. I think one of the key attraction here is there's East Coast Park and there's also Sports Hub. That's where everyone kind of like goes there to exercise, go for cycling, bring your family for a walk. And I guess that is why I absolutely love East Coast. Unfortunately, my wife I still cannot get her to agree to move to this area. But if I had the chance, I would have moved here maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago already when I first get married. But hey, maybe I still might get to move into this area because I actually bought landed properties. But because I actually bought a landed property, which I will do our next video there, is really coming to completion already. We searched for at least we looked at least 20-30 houses and managed to secure one, and I think it's fated that we still end up buying a landed house in District 15 itself. But anyway, back to the main topic itself. For that one, I will cover in the next video. Just to sum it up, this is where PocketView comes to the picture again. We are here to help our clients to look for houses, and it's really not just that, it's really about the experience. We don't bring you on a headless chicken run. Is it the correct statement, headless chicken run? Sounds a bit wrong, but whatever. We bring you around with what we feel is suitable for you based on our experience. Again, treat us like a middle person, except we really know exactly what is there out there. And it's really much easier for us to connect the dot rather than just view a 1,000 houses and you're exhausted, your husband exhausted, then you just get very pissed off and you stop looking for a house. So once again, if you are someone looking for work-life balance, you want the kind of neighborhood that has plenty of life, very close to convenience, very close to all different sort of amenities, food, even you want to drive towards the Changi Airport, you want to go towards City, or all these major iconic spots in Singapore, then it's all within, I think, 10-15 minutes drive. If you're looking for something like that, then I can tell you in Singapore, there isn't really, I mean, I also said that a lot of people like to move into River Valley and also Lomson, but nothing is quite like East Coast. So if you're looking for something like that, then I can tell you, East Coast is the place that everybody wants to get.